Stop diversifying your portfolio and start diversifying your network. We always like to talk about how you should find people that are like-minded, and that's great, and that's amazing. You should be doing that. But you should also find different types of people, different types of backgrounds, skill sets, professions, anyone you can find who's great at what they do, because you can't do everything alone, and if you think you can, you're going to fail. The people who are most successful are the ones who know how to provide value to those who they care for, and then get the same value by leveraging the knowledge that they don't have the time to pursue. Let me give you an example. So right now we're getting ready to launch PropertyDeals, and I'm figuring out how to host it. So the developers finish the code, and they kind of like hand it off to us. We're like, all right, here, now you got to figure out where you want to host it, where the backend's going to be, where the database is, all that stuff. And all while them having built a database using, in layman terms, a way that they shouldn't have done it. So there's a much simpler and much more efficient way to do it, and they decided to take the long route and make it much more complex and complicated for something that should not be this complicated. That being said, immediately I know how to host the front end, so I did that, and I got it up and running. But now it came to the point of, okay, I need to get the back end and the database hosted. So the back end is basically the logic behind everything, the brains behind the app, so it doesn't just look like a cool front end website, I guess you could say. And the other side is the database, so all the actual information. And the way they did it is that even like the authentication, so like actual users being in the back end versus somewhere else. So I'm talking to chat, right? And I'm like, all right, give me a game plan because I have no clue how to do this. And he gave me a bunch of options. And I'm looking through these. I was like, okay, this one makes sense. This is probably the best way to do it. And then before I actually start moving ahead with it, I'm like, wait, I have a friend, I know a guy who's worked at Google for over a decade now. He's a product manager of Google Meet, and I've talked to him before about PropertyDeals, so he has the context, and I trust him, he trusts me, so I give him a text. I'm like, all right, what's the best move here? He gives me a quick answer, and then he was like, wait, let's get on the call. So I talked to him for about 20-25 minutes, and the direction shift from that single call and of where I was before with using ChatGPT, using what I knew about code, was like almost a complete 180. Like, I was thinking, okay, we can use this for this thing, this for this thing, this for that thing, because that makes sense. He was like, scrap that. At first he was like, use AWS, but then he brought up GCP, Google something. Anyways, that's not important. And he kind of explained the process of each step, what is needed when and where, and why you'd want to go with each thing. And that's the type of insight that you cannot get from just being surface level of whatever field you're looking at. You need someone with actual experience and expertise. And just after that call, I'm like, thank God I called him and I didn't go through with that, because I would have lost so much time, momentum, effort, everything. Like, he literally laid out the steps from getting it the fastest way possible, deployed now so it can be out, while also explaining steps past that of how to transfer databases, transfer the back end of some things, and what levels of code, like if I could do it, or if we need to hire a developer to do it. And it gave such a better understanding of what the next steps are going to be. So that story is all just to really say is that you can and you should look up information, find it using chat, finding it with other means and other resources. But at the end of the day, the most valuable asset you can have are people who have done this and do this for a living and have those insights that you will never be able to get because you don't have those decades of experience. And you don't need those decades of experience. If you're, like, for example, my goal is not to become a software developer. However, I fully respect software developers for the amount of information and just honestly the entire skill set that they have. If it was one skill I could pick up overnight, it would be development. But being able to leverage his knowledge and help us move forward is just a complete game changer. And at the same time, like, he built an app. He doesn't have that business acumen and marketing sense. So it goes both ways. It's not just give or take, it's both. So find people in your life who aren't just like-minded and aren't just in your field, although it's great to have connections in your field, but it's also just as important, if not more, to have connections and to have people you trust in these separate fields, whether they're lawyers, whether they're software developers, whether they're teachers, whether they're doctors. There are so many different facets of life and so many routes you can take that it would be wrong to try to tackle them all. And the best way to do that is to know the best people in each industry. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope it was a little valuable there. I'll see you guys next time.